What is going on, everyone? It's Tuesday night, and we're about 30 minutes late, but that's just because Josh and I had to get to know one another. They say you really don't know someone until you talk dogs, sports, music. So we had to cover those bases and work out a few technical difficulties. But here we are, and I'm so excited. It looks like there's already people that are logging on. I see you, Joseph. Miss you, man. I see people logging in right now. Do me a favor, share this broadcast as much as you can, because tonight you are in for something very special. I'm a big sports fan. I'm a big football fan, and I shared this last week in the broadcast, but there's a thing known as the Bill Walsh coaching tree. And the interesting thing about the Bill Walsh coaching tree, a former head coach of the San Francisco 49ers in the 80s, is that you look at a lot of coaches in the 90s and even coaches that still exist today, and they can all be connected back to the lineage, the 23andMe, the Ancestry.com of Bill Walsh. You could draw a direct line from some of the best coaches back to Bill Walsh. And when I started this show back in January, and I wanted to interview people about their weight loss transformations, and I went plant-based back in last September, I got a chance to interview a lot of people, and this name kept coming up. I could pronounce the first part of it. I couldn't pronounce the last part of it. That first name's Josh. That was easy. How do you? I had to spell it phonetically. LaJaunie. I'm pretty sure I got it right. He'll correct me if I didn't. But I heard that name so many times. Tim Kaufman said that name. I can't tell you how many people said that name. And so I'm like, Josh LaJaunie. And so I started looking him up, naturally started seeing the before and the after pictures, and saw him, on the cover of the Runner's magazine, and just started seeing all about this guy's story. And I thought, the Bill Walsh of the plant-based coaching world, the Elvis Presley of the coaching world. I need to get that guy on the show, because I need to hear about the story behind the transformation photos. If you've seen the transformation photos, they're unbelievable. I'm going to go ahead and put one up on the screen right now. If you've seen this transformation photo, you know what I'm talking about. This is Josh right here. Amazing, amazing transformation. But if you are brand new to this broadcast, as some of you might be, I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and my whole goal is to shed light on the emotional side of people's transformations. I think that we do people a disservice by just showing this before and after picture, not asking people what was it like to go through that transformation. I think that when you see a before and after picture like this, you just assume that Josh is some super freak when it comes to his mental willpower, which I'm sure he probably is. But you also don't realize that Josh is a normal guy that goes through and has gone through a lot of things that you've gone through in your weight loss transformations. Josh knows what it's like to go from a big body to a smaller body. Josh knows what it's like to have to renegotiate his relationship with food. Josh knows what it's like to no longer believe some of those old beliefs that he had when he was overweight, and still fight some of them today, even in his new body. That is the reality of the journey. Josh has lived it. He's our guest tonight. We are going to talk about the emotional side of Josh's story. Don't think we're going to stop there. We got a lot of other things to throw at you tonight. This is one really, really cool guy. It took me about 15 minutes to just verify what I already knew, because all of you had told me all about him. Such a humble guy, such an amazing story. And so I'm so excited to welcome on to tonight's broadcast, no other than, as I said, the plant-based Elvis. I don't know, Josh, do you like plant-based Elvis, or do you like, the Bill Walsh of plant-based? I don't know. Which do you like better, man?
Dude, you're killing me with the Bill Walsh, man. That's the NFC West days. He calls me a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
names, bro.
Oh, that's right, huh? That is the
Oh,
old
man.
rivalry.
Ripped my heart out many, many Sundays,
Oh, so that is the highest form of compliment one could. No, man. But so let's give you Elvis then, man, because you're the plant-based
My
Elvis. No,
dad
really
loves,
though.
yeah, my dad loves
Yeah,
Elvis. I grew up with Elvis in the house for sure. I get
there you go. So we're gonna give you that one, man.
it.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for being here, even though I feel like we've been talking a while. But really though, thank you for making the time to be here
I'm more
tonight.
like I'm more like the plant-based poo-poo Broussard. And that's,
Oh, are you?
yeah. And only people from here will know what that means. And it's going to be hilarious to like
And
5 people.
they'll know. They'll know.
Yeah.
And if you know what that means, throw some comments out there. I know we got some of your people rolling in. There's going to be some other people rolling in here tonight from all different communities. What communities do you think are tuning in right now? Missing Chin's Running Club. Tell people more about that.
Yeah. We were talking about sort of the secret sauce of sustainability. I feel like has been community, you know,
Ooh.
and so so meeting guys like Tim Kaufman and Justin Lacey and Jason Cohen and all of the clowns that were in the beginning with us, that you really, for the longest time, you think like when you go and you finally cross that barrier where you, oh damn, I lost all of the weight, and you feel kind of like an alien a bit. Like you, every now and then you hear or see something, you're like, yeah, but it's not exactly the same thing as me, or you know what I mean. And
Right.
to meet other people that have done it, and that are, you know, in Jason's case, in South Louisiana as well, you know, and in Tim's case, he also hunted and killed animals and turned them into processed meat products, just like I did. We like boast about, you know, seriously, like, man, we did 2,500 pounds of smoked sausage one weekend, you know, like, and to be able to find guys that you can connect with around what we're connecting around, you know, is precious. And so those guys are basically like the anchor to guys like Anthony Masiello, and like just they've been doing, like, Anthony's been killing it a lot longer than way before I had lost my first pound. He's been
When
on
did
this,
you? I didn't know that. When did you lose your first pound? When did your journey start?
2011.
2011.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and what was significant about 2011 for you, Josh?
2011 was so I was going back to school as a 30-year-old, almost 30-year-old freshman, and I was about to graduate in 2011. Though it had been a couple of years, and I was in school, and I was about to knock it out. But I had put on a lot of weight in those few years. I put on a lot of weight with the Saints games and going to the Saints games and doing it. We had the Super Bowl year was 2010, so that was a big like crescendo of partying and like a whole year of like, you know, aftershocks of tailgating and partying and remember when parties and all of that stuff. And so 2011, I was about to graduate, but I didn't want to feel fat when I did it. I was finally like, I felt so, I don't know, empowered by some of the things that had happened in my life that I had thought would never really happen, like marrying an awesome person. Totally outkicked my coverage, you know, with my wife.
That's awesome.
Right? And then getting my degree, like it was coming. I was about to get my degree. The Saints won the Super Bowl.
So everything's just aligning.
And I'm like, I'm kind of flirting with, you know what? Maybe. You still there?
There we go. Keep going. I thought you could hear me.
Yeah, no, it was just a big picture of me staring myself in the face. It was weird.
Right.
Where were we? I'm sorry.
So yeah, you were saying that just everything that was aligning that year for you.
Yeah, for sure. I was starting to flirt with the idea that maybe the next step is maybe I'm going to lose some weight. You know, maybe I'm going to do that finally and do it different this time. Not just lose some weight again, but take it on as like a grown man, put on my big boy drawers and make the hard decisions to really do it. And in the beginning, it started with my friend asking me to join the gym with him. And that was it. And I just wanted to simply look better in a suit by the end of the year. That's how it started. If I could get back to playing weight, which was 295, man, I will have made a huge improvement in the way I feel about myself, the way I look. I'll be light on my feet again, like when I played ball, like 285, 295. High school
And
weight.
did you? And that was high school football that you played?
I played high school ball, and then I went to a small school in Arkansas for like a freaking semester. Just went through training camp, and then the first semester, and by the first semester, I was out of football and flunked out and hurt with this back that I'm dealing with right now.
Oh wow.
Yep. Hurt and getting fat because I had put on 30 pounds before training camp.
So you were dealing with a loss of identity around then, and like you said, getting wrapped up in the Saints stuff. And did you grow up as a bigger kid always, or weight was
Yeah,
a
I was
struggle for
always
you?
flabby. I was always flabby. My brother was, and my brother always took the brunt of like people calling us fat or anything like that, because my brother was bigger than I was when we were little. And I look back at those days and it's like, ugh, my heart just aches for what I saw him deal with. I didn't deal with that stuff, but I always felt fat and flabby, although I was always a little smaller than my brother. But yeah, and then eventually we just kind of said, like, we were in full Bam Bam mode. My grandfather, and just said, screw it, and like embraced it and went with it, But yeah, my whole life has been around heavy people, My Bam Bam, my patriarch of my family was 380 pounds my whole life. My grandmother was always fighting with weight, doing crazy, taking laxatives to try to lose weight, and then binging on ice cream, and then I witnessed a lot of that type of stuff. And, in my family, I watched my mom always struggle with weight, always going on a diet, always like losing weight and then cycling back on and then going back off and, being miserable.
And you saw all of that growing up.
Yeah.
And how did you not let that seep into your hope? I mean, like, how in 2011 did you put that all aside to say, I've seen the yo-yo, I've done the yo-yo, but there's
Books.
something different about right now? Books. What books?
So, what it really sort of, what led me down the trail was just really, I'll tell you, I don't know. I really kind of want to go all the way back to like the first time my wife said, hey,
Yeah.
you should read this book, just to sort of shake your reality or what you think is reality, which was the Da Vinci Code. I grew up very white, right of center, conservative Baptist household. My great grandfather was a Baptist minister. My grandmother was the daughter of a Baptist minister, and all of that life. And so she encouraged me to read that book. And I was very skeptical the whole time, but it was like, it shook, because it just shook a reality that I thought existed. Not that the book was nonfiction, it was fiction, but there were things that I didn't know that, were almost tied all the way together, but it was an educational experience.
So if all of those things that you potentially held together had this possibility of not being true, or there was this other storyline, then it was almost like that opened up the possibility for you to believe in other storylines in all parts of life. And that somehow translated back to your own health. That's
reading the Da
amazing.
Vinci Code translated all the way to
That's
4
amazing.
years of college and getting a degree as a 30-year-old guy. That was a seed that got planted, that grew into reading books, then reading about, I'm just talking about how I developed a love of pragmatism, or at least that as an aspiration, to be as pragmatic as possible. And books kind of led me down that path.
So this is huge for me. If I'm hearing it right, you rewriting your story and being a runner today and being fit and and having the degrees that you have and being as well read as you are, like all of that is a huge deviation from the story that you would have predicted maybe in your early 20s, if I hear it right. And a lot of that shifted as a result of reading the Da Vinci Code.
That was that was a major lightning bolt. And then all sort of organic things spread out from that lightning bolt. But it was a lightning bolt to my consciousness. Growing up in that rhythm of that, I don't know whatever religion a person grows up in, but mine was very tight.
Rigid, tight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that opened up this space for like, if maybe some of the things that I've accepted, and now we translate this back to your family of origin and the obesity. And, you know, I'm sure it's not just like the storyline of, you know, maybe we're all just part of being a LaJaunie is that we're going to be big, but also too, like that's part of our identity. And all of a sudden there's like this hole poked and all these different holes start emerging as a result of it. And that led you. So there was a point, if we want to talk about rewriting your story, there was a point where you didn't believe that you could be a student. Was there a point where, because I'm going to tell you this as feedback. Like when I see you post stuff online and I read what you're writing, I'm thinking this dude's brilliant. And I'm not just saying that to gas you up. I'm just saying that now as an observation. But was there a point where you didn't believe that you were brilliant or that you were intelligent or that you had the ability to be well read? Like, I mean, we talk about rewriting your story. That sounds like it's something you rewrote along this process too.
Yeah, like I don't feel. I know that I'm smart. I'm not playing limp noodle here, but I am also I am smart. I am proud of how much I've read. I'm proud of what I have downloaded into my brain cavity. I'm proud of that, right? I do know that I'm nowhere near many other luminaries that I have been lucky enough to be in the same orbit of from time to time. And so the smartest thing I do, I think, is to surrender to things that I don't fully understand, but they make good sound sense. And the people who also sort of, what would you say, co-sign these ideas are brilliant, who you cannot touch. I mean, we're not talking about run-of-the-mill cats, right? From the books that I'm talking about, the people that I've read books written by those guys.
Yeah, but I think that's part of what makes naturally the good learners and the most intelligent folks are ones that consistently know that there's a lot they don't know.
It's a smart thing to do, to surrender. It's very smart. It's very smart, and it keeps you curious and wide-eyed and ready. And a lot of serendipitous things happen when you are curious.
So your plant-based journey, people, if you guys are just tuning in and talking to Josh LaJaunie, who has been deemed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as the Elvis of plant-based, it just was announced earlier this evening. There will be a Hall of Fame. I don't think there's a plant-based Hall of Fame, but if there is, man, you got to be in it, along with Tim and all those other guys you mentioned. But we're talking right now about what I love, and we're getting deep, and I want you guys to track what we're talking about here, is that there are certain storylines that you believe about yourself right now that simply are being kept alive because someone spoke them over you. At some point you bought into them. At some point you created them. They're storylines that were created in society. They're storylines that were created in your family lineage. And what Josh is saying is that if you can surrender those storylines, if you could set aside the things that you hold to be supreme and absolute truth, then you will find that there are these openings, there are these moments in life where you can actually rewrite your story, where you can actually challenge some of those notions. And so when you hear about him talking about the Da Vinci Code and what that did for him and how it rewrote his story of becoming an athlete and a student and someone that surrendered to knowledge and became open from a rigid lineage, when you hear about that, don't for a minute again think that you can't relate to that as well. Josh, at a certain point, was it 2011 that you surrendered your health? Holes are being poked. Da Vinci Code says, maybe there's some things that I've come to believe is absolute truth that aren't absolute truth. At what point do you go, and oh crap, maybe this idea of me being just destined to be overweight and all that. Like, what did that?
That's happening in 2011. This in February 2011, when one of my very best friends since kindergarten calls me and asks me to join the gym with her. And so I joined the gym that afternoon, and we met there at 5:30 the next day. And I was on the grind, and I just went back to what I knew. I just started moving through the ether. I didn't learn everything before I made an action. I made an action. My Bam Bam always said, do something, even if you're wrong. So if we'd be on a job site, the worst thing you could do is stand around with your hands in your pocket trying to figure out what to do. You better grab a shovel, grab a bar, close a door, act like you're digging in a toolbox, something. Do something.
Do something. But your do something wasn't just showing up to the gym. Your do something was being open-minded, right?
Right. In the beginning, it was about, that's what it was. It was that had happened as the process of school. You know, that reading that, I'm blossomed years from the Da Vinci Code and being open to books. I started reading tons of books about business, and then that drove me into going to business school. And then I get done with business school, and then I want to lose weight and be like a stereotypical business person looking person like you see in a magazine when you put on a suit, not some fat guy with a 21.5-inch neck, you know? And so I wanted to, and I was like, I can manipulate that, just like I manipulated the fact that I didn't have a degree. Now I do have a degree. Just like Coach manipulated the fact that we didn't have a Lombardi trophy. Now we do have a Lombardi trophy.
Right. And again, I want to point out for you, Da Vinci Code. I'm a huge sports fan, and we're talking narratives here. So I'll throw this real quick. Are you a baseball guy at all, or no?
Hardly at all. I am very football.
Hardly at all. You're very football centric. Well, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so I can't tell you a story of winning the Super Bowl or anything like that. But what I am going to tell you that
I feel for you, bro. That had to be a rough 4 years, player.
I signed up, and they just assigned a team. We did one of those assign a team things when I was a kid. That I'm convinced that's what happened. I don't know how I ended up with these guys, but I can't let them go. I can't quit them. But when the San Francisco Giants won in 2010, prior to that, they had about 40 years or so of where every time we got to that big pinnacle moment, the narrative was, how are we going to screw this up? And I remember even writing about it then, of saying there was a shift. And when that shift happened after 2010, they went on to win 2 more World Series in a span of 5 years. And in that period of time, every time they got into a key moment, as a result of that first title, it was like, you felt like that narrative changed. Like it went from rigid closedness to like openness. And I'm hearing, when I hear you talk about the Saints, it's kind of like,
dude, possibilities. We have just been through Katrina. So it's like, here it is. It's the worst thing. Like, we didn't suffer from Katrina on the bayou. We got a lot of wind. We didn't get flooding or the rain that they got on the east side of the storm, which is Biloxi and Gulfport. They got demolished. But New Orleans got very close to the eye wall, and they got pummeled also. And it was mostly just residual rain. But anyway, in flooding, that it was like a lot of infrastructure issues that caused the weeks of flooding there. But you know, it had shifted the consciousness, at least in me. Like, it had shifted something like, whoa, I'm a freaking winner, man.
Wow.
We are winners. I'm a winner. I wear this black and gold. I wear this Louisiana, this boot that everybody laughs at because we poor and we fat, but I'm a winner.
That's pride to you, though.
Yeah. And so I'm going to fix. You think I'm going to be fat. I get it. My dad is, my mom, my grandpa, my grandma, a whole bunch of my cousins. You think that's what I'm supposed to be too. Watch
me.
Hide and watch. See what happens. Because I have the power. I have the control. And I learned that through educating myself and being able to release and surrender from some of those old dogmatic, quote unquote, truths in my life. You know?
Guys, I'm just pausing because I'm locked in. Pause. Are you catching what he's saying right now? because honestly, there are so many of you that are logged in right now that are stuck into your dogmatic belief systems, not just about the world, but about yourself and about your story. And you're tuning in, and some of the things that you've accepted as just being the way they are, and it's going to be that way for generation upon generation upon generation. I'm talking to someone that you sit here and you look at his before and after pictures, you read his Forks Over Knives transformation story, and you look at it and you go, damn, I wish I had. Listen, this guy has been in your shoes. This guy has been in your shoes, and he's been at a point, and what he's saying, if you're looking for nuggets, one of the nuggets we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about expanding consciousness. We're talking about being open-minded as opposed to being rigid. And we're talking about exposing your beliefs and just surrendering them and being open to the possibility that some of those beliefs that you hold might not be true. That maybe some of the beliefs that you're feeding, you could stop feeding those ones and start feeding other ones. And as a result, you'll see something magical happen. You'll see a transformation as big as the one that you're seeing right now in front of us happen. And it's not just a physical transformation. I hope you're getting this. Josh and LaJaunie's story is so much deeper than that. What are some things? Yeah, keep going.
Anybody can lose weight, man. That's the difference. That's what anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. I know people that can do it and keep it off, but they constantly feel like it's a perpetual plate spinning trick. I'm gonna slip off and I'm gonna fall back into it any moment, you know? And it's about taking that more, I don't know, that whole perspective, that surrendered. Don't cling so tightly to what you think you want that you would not accept something better. So don't think about and that's a wonderful quote from the Plant Yourself podcast. I got to shout out my boy Howie. It was a great interview. That was with Chris Voss, but that was an amazing quote. And it really, because it made me think of myself, because all through the first half or so of my weight loss, I thought I wanted one thing. I really thought I was going to be the guy that looked like an ex-NFL football player, jacked. That's what I was interested in being. And I was working hard trying to do that. But don't be so sure of what you want that you wouldn't take something better. I would have never thought that I would feel so good about myself as a freaking spindly marathoner who, my wife makes fun of how lanky I am. I don't squat good. I look like a baby giraffe sometimes when I'm trying to get out of bed.
Yeah,
I would have never imagined being happy being this guy. I'm a whisper of a man compared to what I thought a real man was, right? So don't worry about if that's what you think. I don't want to be like that. Well, don't worry about that. Worry about where we are today, and let's grow that incrementally towards a positive, pragmatically chosen place.
Now that pragmatically chosen place, again, the chronological order of 2011, you start moving back in the gym. What other beliefs started to shift for you? And I love, because that's what this whole broadcast is about, is rewriting your story. So what other beliefs started falling off and became surrendered and became questioned and along your journey as you start to then lose weight?
I started to notice when the weight loss would slow down and stop. And then I started to have to come to have a reckoning with the food, the multiple scoops of chocolate, peanut butter, whey protein I was eating from, GNC, and the post meal shake and the 5 chicken breasts and all of the things that I was doing.
I was doing all that too, man. That is a big reckoning.
Okay, all right, bang. This is not working. I'm reading a little bit. I'm getting on, maybe I don't need to bench, 300 pounds again. Maybe that isn't useful in my life. And I'm getting on the elliptical and reading a magazine and, things just kind of floated and connected. So I'm shifting from, I want to be a big hulking gorilla, obviously ex-football player. That's what I wanted in my life, right? To I'm about to, which I didn't know it at the time, I'm about to go on a journey that's going to turn me into 190-pound guy that runs, ultra marathons and eats only plants. I didn't realize that's where I was headed, but that was the first movement, was to go from the gym, 3 sets of 10, I'm a beast, to, maybe I'm going to get on this elliptical for a little while. 50 minutes? Are you crazy? On the elliptical? And that was like another thing. I started to release and surrender and go, well, okay, if I really want to burn body fat, that's what this article says. And it makes sense. I mean, they explain in the science. And I might not understand it all, but it does make really good sense that if I go outside and I sweat my ass off for a while, or my butt off, excuse me, sorry.
Hey, this is Facebook Live, man. You can drop whatever. Yeah, we're gonna talk hip hop later, so it's all good.
Oh yeah, true that. So so it just made good sense to me that I do need to get my big ass outside and do a little bit of sweat. And the treadmill I was trying to use broke on me. The gym owner was like, dude, just keep it to under 5 miles an hour and you'll be good. I was like, no, that's not gonna cut it for me. So I started going outside and doing that. And that was something I never, ever, ever, as a football player, you don't run on purpose.
And now, what position did you play again?
Tackle. I played defensive tackle in high school, and then I played on the offensive line.
You're not running. I'm telling me and my friends, when we, us big athlete guys, we'd say, the two things that we would get a panic attack over was the smell of chlorine, having to take our shirts off and go to the pool. And the other was when you had the end of practice, when you knew you were about to run, you just didn't know how long you were gonna have to run for. Like, that was the worst.
Yeah. Oh God. And we used to have to do a mile on Saturday mornings after football games. And you would swear that they were killing us.
Yeah. You'd find a way out of it.
They gave us 15 minutes. They gave us 15 minutes to get it done. And we would all just be dragging up, barely making 15 minutes, And but back in the day when I first started going outside and doing those first jiggle jogs, that was another thing I had to overcome, was people looking at me, because I'm a big flopping, titty flapping man, And so spent a lot of time waking up early and getting up before daylight and running with my buddy Jeffrey. And we'd go, I'm talking about, my runs were 16-minute miles.
Mm-hmm.
We might go 4 miles and my nipples are bleeding, sweating, my ankles on fire, my Achilles would feel like they were about to explode. I had to stop and stretch myself, and it was a big deal. I remember that first 4 mile run up Tiger Drive and back. It was rough, bro. I remember, and I love it so much though. I miss how much I had in front of me back then. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's hard to probably create as much. Like, there was so much in front of you now, where you're finding more things to create.
There's a lot of meat on the bone back then. There's a lot of work, and there's still a lot of work, but it's a different frontier, and it's scarier. It's deeper,
So why not though? Like, you mentioned struggling with body image stuff, and just self-consciousness. That's natural. I can relate to that in the running, and again, why not turn around? Why even force yourself to go through it? Is it just because you were that committed to openness?
Yeah, I was committed to. I really wanted to. This was my next project. I had gone back to school. Maybe I was going to be getting back out in the world, in the business world. I didn't know what was ahead of me. I didn't know what happened after you graduated college. I'd never done that before, And so I wanted to be presentable. I wanted to, and that's, that was important.
What's going through your head? Yeah. What was going through your head right there?
Yeah, no, just, I don't know. I'm just thinking about those early days with Jeffrey and what it all started. Like what it all wound up being.
How much of that Josh back then running with Jeffrey outside is still the Josh that sits here today?
Oh, there's a lot of him. There's a lot of them. I'd say, I'm Josh. I'm Josh. I'm the same guy. I really do feel like that, even though I have very close friends that would beg to differ, I'm sure. I don't eat or drink the same things, and I do different things physically. I don't, and so much of what people called the old Josh was wrapped up in eating and drinking. But
now you've just focused that on a different place.
right, I feel like I still use that energy, that same, because it was like a wide ass open, very extreme energy. There's lots of whiskey, not a little bit, not a moderate amount, like a lot. How much you got? Let's drink the whole thing of Glenlivet and then pass out and throw up.
So that all or nothing was present
I'm
in
still
other
doing
areas.
right. I'm still doing that. I'm that passionate, go for it. The same way my Bam Bam did it. My Bam Bam did life. It's not, let's not ball 2 sacks of crawfish. Let's get 3 pots and ball crawfish for everybody. And get drunk as hell and play music loud.
But you've channeled that into something different.
Into something different. A different way to be loud. A different way to like use my life force and look how much life I'm living. Right? And then I'm just being Bam Bam, but in a newer iteration.
So that's something that you brought up numerous times tonight, and I've heard it before, but how important has it been? Like, you're living out the virtues, if I'm hearing it right, of your Bam Bam. But striving to.
Pop me in the back of the head for about 30% of the shit I do.
And you probably still feel
I'm a good, I'll take 70.
But you've also transformed. Like, what would your Bam Bam say about some of these ways that you've transformed? Like, you're living the virtues, but you're living them differently.
He would be flabbergasted. But I think he would, even though he would be completely confused and tell me I'm crazy that we're not going to have what we used to call a Timberlier special, where you go to Bourgeois Meat Market and cut 1.5 inch thick ribeye. We're not going to have one of them anymore. I can hear that, right?
Yep.
But I also could feel him being proud of me for standing my ground, for covering my ground, and for having like the moxie and the gumption to stand up sort of against the grain in today's world, especially here, which is not always fun, honestly.
So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about standing up against the grain in the particular area that you live in, the state that you live in, and what that means to people who might not be from there. But I want to just point out again, if you guys are listening at home, we've talked about openness. We've talked about challenging your belief system. We've talked a lot about rewriting your story. What we've also really honed in on here too is that sometimes we feel like when we change, like for Josh, I'm sure when he changed and he no longer ate the ribeye, and sometimes we're caught up in the ribeye, we're losing sight of the principle or the process. The process is what Josh extrapolated from that and said it was about doing things big and having fun and but also going against the grain. What are some of you are afraid to give up mom's carnitas, or you're afraid to give up the Italian meatballs and spaghetti because you think that you can't still be a part of the family because you think there's family virtues in that. It's not about the meatballs. It's not about the ribeye. It's not about the carnitas. It's about the principles behind those things. So maybe it's about family togetherness. Maybe it's about the way you do life. But that's some of what maybe some of you are going to feel a lot of relief from in Josh's story, is to say, I could still be a part of this family. I can transcend those values. I can have my Bam Bam look back and be proud of the fact that I still went against the grain, something he would have loved, even though he'd be confused by the way that I went against the grain. I think that's so, so important to highlight, guys. So again, what are the beliefs that you have about yourself? What are the areas of your life that you're afraid? Some of those areas of your life that you might be afraid about changing, some of those have been passed down, intergenerational transmission of these ideas, beliefs, but it's more important to not get caught up in the it and look at the process and take a step back, just as Josh mentioned. And Josh, you mentioned that about being in the South and going against the grain and being a man that eats plants and a man that runs
that used to kill deer and doves.
That used to kill deer.
Doves. Yeah, and anything, we make a roux or a stew out of anything that moves. You know, my buddy would always say if a grow bag passed overhead or whatever, it'd be like my buddy Jeffrey, boy, that thing don't know nothing about potatoes and onions. Because that's, you take anything and put it in a black pot and cook it down with potatoes and onions and put it over rice, it's going to eat.
That's it. That's it. Now, let me ask you this, because there's so many, and I know that you guys talk about this in the missing chins and stuff like that. One of the things that, you know, women go through their things where they get challenged for their still being women, like having ownership in the women club. Men, this is something that I'm sure you guys talk about, but men, I think their masculinity gets challenged a lot through eating plant-based and through doing, you know, and especially I imagine where you're at. So what's that been like?
I have it right here in Thibodeau. Yeah, totally. Yeah, of course. You get.
So what's that been like?
You know, it's been frustrating at times. You know, especially when I'm down, because that's obviously the reason. You know, and that's what at least where my mind goes, you know. And you know, because I'm hurting. I've been dealing with an injury for a year. I've built my mileage back up, my fall back a little bit ways, and you know, and it's like been a sawtooth, very non-linear progression for the past year, slowly climbing out, but it's like, ugh. And you can just hear the jokes, and you know, I've had
what do you hear them, or or like people actually say things to you, or you can just imagine what they would say?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Some social media, you know, some people just saying what other people said, but they really just repeating it because they wanted to say it too, about, you know, failing at Liverpool the way I did. Like one of the very first messages I got was, they don't listen to any of your friends, how they were talking about, yeah, Josh needs meat. You know, like, I mean, 30 minutes after my like gut wrenching marathon, and I'm still recovering from it to this day, there's just like immediately one of the first messages I read has something to do with, well, obviously you don't eat meat, so you failed at a marathon. You failed at a Boston qualifying marathon. It's not because you were 420 pounds when you're 32 years old and you played football for 13 years of your life and walked around with 200 pounds of belly fat around your midsection for a good 10-year chunk. That has nothing to do with it. It's plants is the reason that your body's failed you right now.
And even though you are so well read and you understand that you can intellectualize the fact that that's
getting me to believe, because what bothers me is people, the outside person looking in. Right. They go, yeah, he called him out on it. Like people that can't really understand and see nuanced differences between two people. And they just look at net, or look at, you know, abs versus a deflated 200-pound belly sack with stretch marks all over it. Right? He obviously knows a lot more about nutrition than the flabby guy. Right. That failed at his marathon, you know.
And so when you're in those moments, man, like, again, intellectually, you know that what people are peddling is not true. But how do you get yourself out of those emotional spaces? And I really think it's cool that you're talking about it, because again, I think people can imagine that maybe Josh LaJaunie doesn't go through moments like that, where you're faced with some insecurities, or you're faced with some doubts. Yeah. So how do you manage insecurity and doubt?
Feel it. Taste it. Sit with it.
Don't push it away.
Cognizant of it. Yeah. Bathe in it for a minute. Feel it. Come to grips with it. Let it be what it is. Just like if your nose was itching while you're trying to meditate or something, stand there, look at it, assess it. Is it working? Is it doing what I need done? Is it really fixing the problem? And I'll struggle with it. And I'll go back and then I'll have to feel it again. And I'm trying to pass through those layers of very complicated feelings of old fat boy aggression that's finally able to get back and then gets broken when he's right doing something fun and awesome. Because that's where I feel right now. It's weird. Like I feel a lull in all of that physicality right now. Yeah.
You feel it right now?
Yeah.
Right now. So what's going on? Maybe some people who are listening are aware of your story of where you're at right now. But what's going on right now that brings some of that back?
I'm dealing with some physical pain. My back, the same old shit from football. Same old thing. And it's a chicken or egg thing right now. Like I don't know if the massive protrusion is I have protrusion in the L4 and L5 that I just refuse to cut myself. They've been telling me since football that you're gonna have to have the surgery. You're gonna have to have the surgery, and I just don't want to. I'm not gonna have the surgery until it's like a medical emergency. I don't know what to say other than that. So I'm trying to figure out life with that as the reality. And
so you're managing pain, and it's in those moments where you're not just sitting with the pain, the physical pain, but also the emotional stuff comes in because they all exist in the same vessel, right? You know, and they trigger one another. They're not separate vacuums or compartments. Mm-hmm. So that when you're in this place like you are right now, some of those doubts that you kind of, and those insecurities that you mentioned, like when you say like that old fat boy anger and stuff like that, like what comes out of you now? Like what's some of the lines in your head that get brought up?
Yeah, just I've been, slapped on the belly by uncles laughing at me while I'm trying to have a good time with my family on the boat. And took me a long time to take my shirt off, and I eventually did. And he's laughing at how much I'm jiggling when I'm riding in the boat. When I was your age, I had a 6-pack. Those types of things like that. And so you think about that now that I am what I am, even though I'm not much, but compared to where I was, man, I feel real good about what I can do with my body.
You're a lot, man, but I know what you mean. It's that people, because people will look at you right now and go, "Holy crap!" Like there's people all over that would idolize, and be like, "Man, look at that! Look at what he's done with his body." But there's still a part of you that remembers what it was like to be slapped on your stomach by your uncle on the boat, and how that felt, and that insecurity, right. And in moments where you're in pain,
scared to mess with somebody because I automatically had default thought that they were fitter than me, and I was like a mismatch, or feeling those little kid kind of feelings of and then when you're coming out of that and you are just like smashing, and I feel like I'm flying and I'm getting fast and I'm running and I'm like, I want to go further and I want to go faster. What else can I do? I'm like, what else is possible? Just lost all the weight. I never thought that was going to happen. I got, I'm a plant-based now. The plants must be protecting me like a bulletproof jacket against anything I want to do to my body, regardless of how illogical or irrational or extreme it might be. Let's go for it, And so I did, just kept going and going, and that fuel of I told you so, like that desire to be able to say I told you so it's a very volatile fuel, but it burns out. I think I think you can And so I think finding a deeper, more sort of self-love centered approach instead of an angry, I'll show all y'all asses approach.
Do you feel like you found it, or you're discovering it?
I'm still struggling with it. Yeah, because I still want to be a smart son of a bitch to people that irritate me.
Mm-hmm.
And even more so when I'm physically hurting and nobody knows it. Yep. I get sour, you know? I really do. Mm-hmm. I can get real sour from, and so, you know, you deal. Like this part, this is not, there's no, you know, there's no there. You're not going to get anywhere. It's about developing a life protocol that manifests these outcomes that are a lot more desirable than the old way, you know? And that's how we deal with the same old bumps and bruises of life. The same rough seas are going to be there, you know?
But I will say this to what you shared, in that, and I hope people are catching this, because the first thing that you said, and this is so crucial, is that you acknowledge what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. Just like you acknowledge the pain, whether it's physical or emotional, you acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. You don't push it away. You sit in it. You feel it. Mm-hmm. That's when you're more likely to choose that next step of compassion or self-love, or channeling it, even in a "I'll tell you so, but not that it really matters because I love myself no matter what you say" type sort of way, versus the other word, which is very reactive. I think a lot of times we react from what we would call that secondary emotion of anger and resentment, because we're afraid of hitting the primary, which is being vulnerable enough to say, damn, that hurt. And so I would say that in your evolvement, just reflecting that back to you, that you're further than a lot, especially a lot of men, because you're able to acknowledge, stuff hurts. And to me, you know, I know that there's a lot of outdated definitions of what it means to be a man, but I remember I once had a therapist say to me, she said, the evolved man is the manly man that we think of, but also is able to be man enough to say when they're hurt, to cry, mm-hmm. to express themselves.
My Bam Bam
your Bam Bam what?
Bam was the hardest dude I ever knew. You know, I mean, he was my everything. And at a very early age, I remember I was a ring bearer for when he renewed his vows with my grandmother, and he was like the boss of everybody, and he cried like a baby, uncontrollably cried when he was putting.
Did he try to hide it?
No. He sobbed putting a ring on my grandmother's finger, and it stuck. It stuck.
What did that say to you?
Yeah, it said that it's okay to show passion, and he showed passion in the other way too. Like he would go off.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But he also he showed passion. He showed passion, and he wore it on his sleeve. And he was always a really. He might have been racist. He might have been sexist. He might have been an alcoholic, you know. But man, he was passionate and he loved people. And that's fun for me. And that's fun for me to do in life.
You're obviously living, again, all of these characteristics out. I know, like you said, there's that 30% where he'd slap you on the back of the head. But hey, I could tell just by spending a little bit of time with you that you're already doing that passionate.
30%, he's probably only right about 4 or 5.
So
he
even Bam
understand 25%.
Yeah, even Bam Bam's got his margin of error, right?
Exactly.
But no, I think the cool thing again about so much of your story, man, is that it's living. You can live out the things that you see. You come from a very, very, what I can tell to be close, proud family.
Yeah,
You can come
we've
from
been
a
through some
close,
shit
proud
too, though.
family.
Like we're not like this is not Leave It to Beavers. Like we
No,
grew up trailer
I
park.
was,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
we had the deal. You know, yes, my grandfather owned the trailer park, but we were still, you know, eating beans and rice. And my mama had this. She bought a thing at a garage sale that had a bunch of hamburger helper recipes in it, bro. And we it was like a card index, and we had
Wow.
this one dish called toasted cheese bake, which was just
Ooh,
bread and ground meat and cheese and
it sounds fancy
eggs.
though.
It was so trailer park. We had that a couple times a week at least, man. And but we've been through some rough stuff, you know. We really have family turmoil, the things that come with, you know, a family that drinks a lot and a family that is very unhealthy and been through some dysfunction and not highly educated, you know, generation after generation. And it was, you know, a lot of those dysfunctional seeds take root, and things can get crazy. And it feels good to sort of be a spear tip and maybe a new frontier in how we treat each other, how we love each other, talk to each other, um, and yeah, grow closer. You know, it's our family has been close my whole life. We've always had a close family, but I'd say because of the physical manifestations, when I think about the vascular dementia with my Bam Bam and the heart disease, and I think about the heart attack at 67 years old that took my grandmother, I think about a lot of the things that were keeping us together then. The food and the being and the parties and all of the get-togethers and all of those things. But what those things caused in that very family, um, that family bubble, that family group, if you will's life, is it's dysfunctional. It's not. It's so weird because it's so um it's so taste bud centered. Like that's the priority is how much love we give through the taste buds and the dopamine created with the cheesecake or the toasty cheese bake or the baked spaghetti or the turkey or the fried turkey or like all of the stuff. And now our family, even though we've been close my whole life, especially my clan, my mom and brother and sister and dad and Bam Bam before he passed away in August. Our life forces like pretzeled up almost in a way that has never existed in my entire life as a family. We've always had close family. We've always had holidays and wonderful times together. But looking back on it, a lot of it was all centered around consumption of alcohol and presents and food and, you know, all these dopamine producing things. It was so weird looking back on it with this mind and to see where my family is now and how tight we are and how we're tight around the things that are making us healthier. We're all advocates in our own right, in our own way. My brother, you know, advocates a plant-based diet where he's like Cobra Supply, buying AC supplies and plumbing supplies. I'm talking, you know, it's our life. It means something to us. It has given us a second chance to be happy.
When you were reading Da Vinci Code, did you ever envision your family bonding in the way that they did now? Like,
It's so weird, right? No, not at all. Exactly. No. And so you never know what that first thing you do will seed. You never know what it's going to seed and what plant it's going to sprout into and what, you know, robust tree it'll become. You just keep fertilizing it with presence and, you know, showing up every day and being willing to feel the shit you want to turn your face from.
Feel the shit you want to turn your face from.
Yeah.
So
And
even the
running
pain,
long ass distances helps you learn that.
Why? Yeah, why? Because you face so much on those runs?
So much. It's like living a lifetime in a day almost. So many ups and downs. So many things to just grin and bear it and just freaking just push through and deal.
So when you're on a run, will you encounter not just the physical but also the emotional on the runs, on those long runs?
Yeah. Oh God, I'm missing it right now. It's bottled up because the running hasn't been free for me. The running hasn't been free, even though I've been being able to get my mileage back up, and still not, man. I still feel it deep down in there. Even when I am running, still feel some, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just not fully free. That whole pelvis, low back complex, hips, things, the sacrum, there's still like some things out of whack. And I'm not fully able to just let it rip.
Let it rip and let go. And then that prevents you from kind of finding what emotional stuff is under there too. It sounds like you use the running as a form of emotional release.
Oh, totally, man.
That's your therapy. That's
I was talking about it today on a conference call about how not having my running right now is kind of a big deal. The person I was on the call with didn't realize that I was going through some pain again with this injury sort of being flared up all over again. And I was like, but I can't talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it because I was already feeling myself starting to well up and choke up. Just, it's like a person. It's like missing a person. It's deep. It's rough, So,
because you now have been running for how many years in the way that you've been running?
Yeah. So for only about 4 years, but it's been sort of a progressive thing of marathon and then ultra marathon, and then let me, run 100K, and then let me, run a 50. Let me see how fast I can run 50 miles. And then, well, let me see if I can do a 100-mile race. And that all, is in, but I know people that have done that in a 1 year span. Like people that have gone, I have a buddy who's in the Army who he did freaking 300-mile races in the same year that he did his first 100-mile race, I think, in the same 12-month span.
Wow.
But he's a beast. He's an animal. You can't compare the physiology there. He's an animal who's been through tons of training, and but yeah, I've just eaten it up, man. Love it. And I still want more. I still want to run a mountain race. I still want to do I just look at gristly old ultra marathoners who have spent tons of trail time in the mountains with these big bushy beards and crow's feet. I want to be like them when I grow up. I want to be able to still be churning out those old, I see Gordon Ainsley all the time at these 100-mile races, and it's like, yeah, I'll still be getting it, and doing the thing, right? And I know this is just a temporary thing to deal with, but having that open-ended, what needs to be done, what needs to happen, because it's a surrendering process to what is my body needing to do. How can I best put my body in the positions that it needs to be in to make the connections and the cellular regeneration that it needs, and how am I understanding that process? I'm a newbie. I'm a baby. I know nothing, So I'm trying to figure that stuff out, and that's what I'm doing. Today is researching somatics and doing more yoga. I'm doing yoga by myself at home on YouTube. I have a yoga routine. I have meditated every day this week, which my buddy Howard would be proud of. And so just really trying to put my attention into some things that are things I can do, not things I can worry about, but things I can do. Things I can, not things that I can whine about, but things I can actually do. So
You talk about pragmatism. I would say too. Are you familiar with Stoicism?
Slightly, just through hearing Rich talk about it on the Rich Roll podcast, and I've seen it in person, like kind of with, I don't know if you know who the Iron Cowboy is, but he ran 50 Ironman distance triathlons in 50 states in 50 days.
Oh my God. What?
Yes, exactly. So and this cat was the picture of stoic on all of those marathons. Like, he came through Mobile. So Mobile was closer than the Louisiana one, which he did in Shreveport, which I'm way down in the bottom of Louisiana. So Mobile, Alabama is actually closer than Shreveport is for me. So I drove over to Mobile to go run the marathon that he did with him at the end. Because I had heard him on the Rich Roll podcast and I knew what he was doing. And so me and my buddy, we went over there and ran the whole marathon with him. And I think that was his 20th in a row. And he just was churning it out with listening to music on speakerphone. And then
on speakerphone?
But when it got really bad, like you couldn't even phase him. He didn't talk. He just kept, and you could tell that he was kind of in that space and just steady moving through it.
And the thing is, because I hear so much stoicism in your approach, there's a book called "The Obstacle Is the Way." It's a short little.
I've heard of that. My very best friend in the world, at least right now, he's like my very closest confidant, and is JT, my buddy JT, and he's always telling me about that book. Hey. I guess we lost him. JT, I know you're going to call me out about that one, bro. Let's see if he's going to come back on. Are you guys still here?
They don't want us to talk about stoicism, I guess. But the obstacle is the way. Yeah, that book is right up your alley. It's a short little read. You would love it.
My buddy Jonathan has been telling me about it. He's been on me. I did read one that's amazing. That's another one that David Clark turned me on to. Oh man, he's gonna kill me. The War. I forget. Oh shoot, it was amazing though. The Path of the Warrior, maybe, or something, or I'm drawing a blank. It's terrible. I feel so terrible, but it was awesome. And when I was telling Jonathan about it, he was like, "Dude, that sounds a lot like The Obstacle Is the Way," and he was telling me about that. So that's why I bring it up.
Well, and you're going to read it, and it's going to validate a lot of what you've already. It's going to formulate already what you're doing and take it another level, or just re-emphasize.
That's when things have been when things have really resonated with me and have really been able to stick, is when it's something that I have sort of intuited that I learn about later, and I go, "Oh, okay,
that's language for it." Yeah,
right.
That's
and
what
then,
that.
Okay, I can check that and I can move on because that is a thing. I get it. And the only way you realize that is churning through media, churning through things, videos and TED Talks and books and audiobooks and podcasts, and
Someone said The Peaceful Warrior. Is that?
Yes.
That's the one?
That's it.
That's it. Huh? There you go. Joseph nailed it. Peaceful Warrior. Yeah, I think, again, people with stoicism, it gets a bad rap because people think of just unemotional, but a lot of what they'll talk about in that book and Tim Ferriss's podcast is it's the very thing you said, which is you're encountering the emotion. You're just feeling it. You're noticing it. You're allowing it to come in. It's that meditation and that Eastern principle.
Dude, it's just like running. Okay. Well, there's no way you're not gonna ignore the fact. You can't ignore away that you're in mile 30 and your legs are turning into posts and everything is starting to ache and you still got 20 to go. Right. So when you practice those things physically regularly, it kind of like tenderizes you to be able to go, oh, these feelings are like those dips in a race when shit gets really ugly, but I make it through the other side. Next thing you know, I'm running a 9:30 pace. I'm going, oh shit, remember how bad it sucked a little while ago? Lesson learned. This shit is cyclical.
This
It
sensation, I have to
passes.
feel it. I have to acknowledge it. It's an indicator light. If I don't acknowledge it, it's just going to blink louder and
Yeah,
louder and louder until I finally do. Oh,
right.
there you are. I notice you. Okay. Let me now
And
put some more
Howard's
air in
been
the tire.
right. Howard's totally the reason that I have developed that. Howard has helped me understand that that's sort of what I've kind of been doing. So it's helped me hone that a little bit. And he understands, and he's able to talk to me about the brain science behind all of that stuff. And that is just makes me feel okay. I don't have to understand it all, but a really smart guy that I know that I really trust said something that makes good sense and it's pretty powerful and backed up by science. I'm in, and I can move on with it. You can't shake my foundation on that anymore. Hardly ever. You know, I'll be willing to entertain stuff, but we gotta bring the goods. You gotta pass the Garth Davis test with me.
The Garth Davis
Yeah,
test.
you gotta
Is
get through the
it?
Garth. Yeah.
Isn't he fun, man?
Oh, that dude is awesome. I love him.
That dude's unbelievable. I want to now. You talked about Howard though, and I want to. You were just telling me more about it. Now, are you working with Howard on Well Start? Is that part of what your project you're doing with him, or that's something different?
No, that is with Howard, and it's me and two other partners, and it has been a scary freaking thing for me. I'm used to, I work in I manage a trailer park, me and my brother, and we have rent trailers. It's a very, it's not a, it's what I've done. It's just what I've known my whole life. Bam Bam built that place in the early '80s, and me and Dustin have it now, and we are growing it and doing different things with it. So I have that life, and I have, other unfun things that I work on, and pumps and sewer jobs and just different other stuff that we have to deal with. And building this with Howard and them is just so scary for me because I feel so inadequate in every way when it comes to the technology and understanding stuff on the WellStart platform, which is an amazing piece of technology. The WellStartHealth.com website is really slick and well done, but I'm find myself in an unenviable position of being on the back end with people who know what they're doing, trying to help them iterate and manipulate things. And I'm so out of my freaking league, and I don't know anything other than how to talk to people who are trying to lose weight. And so it's how do we tease out what I need from this very complex thing. And so it's been this scary but really rewarding process of knowing that I'm doing something just like Bam Bam did, building my own thing, right? Bam Bam built this big mobile home park, and I'm doing this different thing. He built a community in that way, and I'm building a different community. I'm building a community of health people who don't know it yet, but once they get changed by the information we are offering, are going to become advocates, therefore becoming, and the way we change the world, really for positive, something good. And this project has allowed me to at least sort of hypothetically, in the beginning and in reality right now, be able to sort of go to people's employers.
Interesting.
Right? And let them worry about our program and the cost associated with it. And then that way we can disseminate that to every man and every woman that are in employee populations around the world, really. This is an amazing thing that I don't understand a whole lot of. I'm really sort of, out of my pay grade or above my pay grade when I get too deep into the nuts and bolts of the technology side of it. But what Howard brings to it, and mixed with what I'm able to, like what Howard's able to sort of glean from my story and pull out of me that I didn't even know I knew, is amazing. It's really cool. And so we're able to use this platform to sort of disseminate these really cool things, this really cool curriculum and program that Howard has built over the past few years. And it's mind-boggling for me to be a part of something that I think is going to be able to help so many folks, not only in the weight loss world and in the health world, but also in the business world, which is another, that was another early passion of mine that I read a lot about. I read a lot about business and things. And so understanding, wow, this is such a beautiful, cool thing for me that touches on all of it, a way to affect the bottom line and help the C-suite with the numbers, and also at the same time be able to help the everyman who's out there who's spending his own cash on co-pays and prescriptions and things like that, be able to help him avoid those costs that he didn't really realize there was a way around, because modern medicine doesn't really show you that path very clearly, right? So it really sort of puts the locus of control potentially in the working guy like me and Tim and all of the blue collar cats in the Missing Chins Run Club. Like, those cats get that locus of control, like what Dr. Esselstyn talks about, put right in their hand through technology if their employer so chooses to use the platform that Olivia and her team have really done an amazing job creating. That has been taking up about 80% of my bandwidth lately. The behind the scenes stuff and the conference calls and the meetings and the ideating around different, protocols and just different stuff. It's overwhelming and scary, but it's so rewarding and fascinating to me. It's really kind of cool.
It's really cool. And for people who are watching right now, I don't know, can you see that we got the website on the screen and everything? And I'm not sure if you could see that, but yeah, we got the website on the screen. It's one of the windows up here. And the website again is wellstarthealth.com. And you can go here, and I'm playing around and I'm showing you guys kind of just a little bit of how the whole program works. And, it's this, I definitely, just from hearing what I've heard about it tonight, and this is the first time I've heard about it, I definitely think this is what's needed. It's a great response to needs that we have as a culture, as a society, but also doing it in a digital way, doing it by, when I click on the program here and it talks about the 5 core elements: mindfulness, movement, optimal diet, resilience, social support, and having all of that included, and how you get, coaching calls and daily tech support with your health coach and
Right.
dietitian visits. I mean, this is all dialed in. And again, I'm just seeing this for the first time, everyone. So
Yeah.
Bear with me as I take some of the information in daily articles, videos. I mean, I was telling Josh
Text
before.
messaging. So like I have the power. So I'm still learning how to really manipulate it to its full potential, to be able to go into this and be able, and we can text people across the board and just pop in and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, how you doing today?
Wow.
I noticed on the message board you've been kind of quiet. I just want to pop in and see how are things. And you might find out that Mr. So-and-so mom just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and so you just have a moment to be able to create a bond. We don't have to talk about food. We don't have to do anything. Like, oh man, sorry to hear that. Like, and so that's the secret sauce, I think, is really being able to create sincere community through some, to be able to create community around some good, solid ideas about nutrition and movement and mindset, and be able to sort of fertilize that community with sincerity and a lot of communication, right? And that's sort of the goal, is to be able to do that and be able to help with disease reversal specifically, really go and find high utilizers in employee populations and really go after them specifically. And so we already have some corporate clients. We're already working on stuff. Things are popping off. It's really, like I said, it's overwhelming for me, but there are more apt people in charge of things. So things are running smoothly. It's kind of a fun ride. But yeah, that's been my life right now. That's me and Howard. That's a thing that Howard put together with his friend Olivia, and they invited me to take part, and I'm just like beside myself, like pinching myself. Like, the guy that wrote Whole is my partner, and like one of my not only my partner, but one of my very best friends to date. And I mean, I remember reading that book and being just, it was a world changer for me. Whole was. It was amazing. And now that dude's my buddy. It's crazy.
And now not only is he your buddy, but you're partnering with him.
Right. And he believes in me for some weird reason. And he's fascinated by my life and what I've been through. And he's always pulling things. He's like, so what you're saying is, I'm like, okay, is that what I said? Because that's awesome.
Yeah, is that what? Yeah.
But he's always doing cool things like that. He's just one of the most warm, sincere, brilliant people you could imagine working with, much less being coached by. He's something. He's a pretty special guy.
It's amazing. So you guys, I know we don't have a ton of time left, and there are some topic darts I'm going to get to.
Of course.
But wellstarthealth.com, and if people want to go on there and check it out, or if people want more information, there's, I'm sure, ways for them to sign up. It looks like apply, find more information by going to that website, right?
Yeah. Text that link to your boss or your HR person or something. Let's see if we can get a pilot program started with your company.
I love that. That is so cool.
See if we can't maybe do some intervention catering in the cafeteria or something. Even if it's just a little 1-day kind of crash course tutorial on, hey, let's put this and this on the buffet. And if you want to avoid heart disease and diabetes, or you want to reverse those potentially, eat that, and that. These are like beans, greens, potatoes, blah, blah, blah. Some simple stuff. And just, we could really go and help some people do. So we're constantly kind of trying to brainstorm around ways that we can sort of get in and make it easier to be healthy at work. That's the thing that I'm very frustrated. I'm learning with the chins is it's very hard for a lot of these guys to be healthy at work, which is super ironic because your human capital is the most important capital you have, and you're poisoning it systematically with your very own cafeteria or food or feeding protocol offshore or wherever. You're making your human capital less valuable. You're turning them into liabilities with high healthcare costs and prescription drugs and lack of morale and all of this stuff.
As I say, and that's the thing, is that, like, not to be too deep of a dive, but 50, 60 years ago, you could argue, or we could idealize that in the 50s and things like that there was more of a collective consciousness of wanting to have like this good that we do as a society. You would think it would be enough to do good, just to say, look, this is going to be doing good by people. But now, like we talked about on the pre-call, you have to justify this in fiscal terms, and you have to justify this in branding and positioning. But the cool thing is that it fits for all of those. It fits because it makes sense. It just makes sense from a goodwill standpoint. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it also makes sense from your investment standpoint too. So I think, again, man, I'm excited to talk with you more about that, because I just think that's the future right there. I love it. WellStartHealth.com. .com. Look, I know some of you guys, it's late where some people are. You know, I'm going to ask you back
Sorry, guys.
if you'll ever come back again, man. I'd
Of
love
course.
it if you did it.
Yeah,
it was so much fun. Me and my buddies used to play this little thing called Topic Darts, where I'm just going to throw out topics at you, and I'm just in free association. Just tell me what comes to mind, and we'll try to keep it to like 60 seconds. If some of you have some topic darts that you want to hear, Josh, LaJaunie, if there's a quick topic that you want to throw out, I'll throw that on the screen too. The first thing that I want to throw out is if you could only have 3 artists in your rotation, and those are hip hop artists, you could only have 3. Who's in that rotation of 3?
Wayne, Fiend,
okay,
and I'm gonna go outside of New Orleans on this one and go to Houston and do my boy Zero.
Wow.
Zero, a beast with it, bro. On the, like, his albums are named after drugs. It's not very, but his meth album and his cocaine album are
fire.
Oh, dude, insane. Love it.
So now, everyone knows Wayne. Tell people again why Wayne gets a bad rap. You're telling me about that.
Wayne, I think people, because he's so huge and he's different. He's different. He's a different cat. Is what it is. He's very creative, so he's a little different. He's a little different, and he's mega popular, so he's have tons of haters. And so I think some people feel like he's maybe a sellout or whatever. I don't know. I don't feel that way at all. I know some maybe not think he's authentic or whatever. But his lyrics are just so ridiculously perfect for me. Like, I love some of his stuff goes so hard, and there's no wasted words. Like, everything means something in the whole thing, and you just like, yes. And I mean, he's got some dogs. Some of those songs but like the ones that are on point are on point, and they are legendary, and they're timeless. That's
and you're it sounds like you're about lyrics too. So that
I'm a beast. I'm an ass. I'm ahead of my class. I'm a diamond in the rough, like a baby in the trash. I don't talk about I paint a picture vivid, and the pistols popping like they shooting in the skillet, and like they sitting in a skillet. Yeah, and like he goes through those, and I'm just
you start feeling it, huh?
It up. Yeah, I feel it chemically. Like, I feel it.
Yeah. I know. Especially if you got a couple subs in the trunk. I know all about that. Yeah.
Yep.
No, and that's so something. Now, do you know Nalita Besson? Do you know her? She's from Boston. You know Nalita?
Oh yeah.
So Nalita, we went over there a couple weekends ago and did her Soup and Serenade. Have you ever been a part of this? I think
I have not. She told me, but I do owe her some Al Green.
Okay, so you said Al Green. But I kicked it off with a little bit of Warren G and Nate Dogg Regulate, and so she's like, "Oh, you're the king of hip hop." But I'm thinking, I think you might want to challenge me for that, or not even challenge. I think you and I pair up and we take down some songs together sometime. So we got to figure out a way to make that.
We do some mystical. Mystical would have had to be on.
Okay, so now Mystical's in there. Yeah,
yes.
No, I could do that. So
it's been like a dream, and like I fantasize. And Drew Brees is not the cat that would ever be this like boastful of himself,
right?
But it's like a fantasy that the man right here comes, like the music comes, dun, dun, dun. And Drew just comes out of the tunnel, all by himself with the light on him, right. Yeah, mystical. Oh,
someone needs to talk to Drew Brees about that. I like that idea.
Come on, right? Yes, that would be awesome.
So, real quick, we're topic darts. Margie says, favorite podcast
of all time. I'm going to give you a very predictable answer here, probably, but the Rich Roll podcast changed my life.
Changed your life, huh?
Yeah, changed my life. It set in a lot of the things that I read in books and watched in documentaries and learned, and so had them floating. And a lot of his interviews set those things for me, like his first Garth Davis interview, like John Joseph, right? Learning that John Joseph talks the way he talks around the ideas associated with a plant-based diet and all of these things, and meditation and yoga and being spiritual and mindful. And he still says things that I like to say with his aggressive, vulgar language. And I was like, so all time. But the Champion Blueprint, he interviewed, I'm drawing a blank. I feel so bad. I thought I would never forget that guy's name.
Champion Blueprint.
The Champion Blueprint, the Champion's Blueprint, is my favorite podcast that I've ever remember listening to. Who's that?
Is it Jeff Spencer?
Jeff Spencer. Yes, Dr. Jeff Spencer. It is an amazing interview. And it spoke to me at that time. It was one of those perfect planets aligned things, because I was struggling at that point in my life, feeling guilty about leaning towards identifying as an athlete. And because it's like, dude, really, you want to lose weight that much? You want to, like, blah, blah. Because I was going through that, like, phase in my life where it's like, all right, dude, enough. People are like, all right, bro, I get it. Okay, yeah, you lost weight. Stop. Right? And so I was feeling guilty about pouring so much of my life energy and my life force into the hours that I was spending running. And listening to that podcast and his Champion's Blueprint, I realized I had sort of intuited a lot of those steps that he already had talked about in his Champion's Blueprint. And I was like, it just really reassured me of the path that I had sort of surrendered to. And that was just one of them specifically that really stands the test of time. It's one of my favorites of all time.
Another thing one of these nuggets I want to pull out here, then I'm gonna throw another topic at you, but is just the fact that, like, a really cool concept that Josh continues to bring up, and for you guys listening and pulling nuggets out, is his ability to say, like, he already intuitively felt it and thought it, but how being open-minded with learning allowed him to then see other formalized truths. Like, when I created a dissertation or whatever, and when I go around and people go, oh, it's just like that, I go, good. Because I think that truth is often recycled. And the more that I hear truth packaged in different areas, or it gives me language to express it, like the Strengths Finder is another great tool where you're like, oh, that's what I do. And like, oh yeah, that is my strength. Like, now how can I communicate and do more of that? And that's, again, like, when you're closed off and you're rigid, going back to pre-Da Vinci Code, like, when you're closed off and you're rigid, then not only are you limiting yourself, but you're also limiting your ability to know yourself. And that's a big thing that I hear you just continuously mentioning over and over. And so it's that open-mindedness. And then you go, oh, that's exactly that thing that I do or that I believe. Now it's a deepened root. And that's a key to rewriting your story. It's such a big key. Again, I'm going to give you 60-second ones.
Sure.
60-second ones real quick. Give me the prediction. What will the New Orleans Saints record be this year, and why? 60 seconds.
We will be.
How many wins?
We're going to win the Super Bowl this year, right?
Okay. I love that you just threw that in there.
Yeah, and I really feel like we'll probably have 13 wins in the regular season.
13 wins.
Yeah, I think that's a good round spot to start kind of chilling and recovering. Getting ready for the playoffs, and I don't think there'll be a whole lot of people that argue with me, but I really feel like it's time.
The defense, you feel like has it finally not caught up with the offense, but at least can hold stable enough
mitigation through the draft in the past couple of years on especially in the secondary, and then we picked up a hammer on the D line this year. And we got I'm drawing a blank. Hendricks, I think I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but he's just an animal. Great compliment for Cam, who's just so underrated in the league. He's a beast.
Beast.
He's
Yeah.
so underrated. The dude's an animal. He's a beast. And so to have him, it's just as important, in my opinion, as having Drew. Like, you need him on that D line. He's the heartbeat of the defense. He's the old dude, but he produces better than anybody, proportionately speaking. And so I think that we're good enough on defense to like get a lot of takeaways, which forgives a lot of yardage gained. And you give us a top 10 defense, and I'm sorry, keep Drew out of the Super Bowl with a top 10 defense. I challenge you.
Yeah, because he's managed to, and this is me watching from afar, but he's managed to he can play those offenses where obviously they're going to go out there and they're going to run and shoot and put points on the board, and he's got targets to do it. And Michael Thomas and his emergence has been just unbelievable. But also on top of that too, he has the ability to just drown out the game clock the way those Giants teams with Eli did for so many years, and just keep that other team's offense off the field. He's able to move the chains methodically.
Dude, 2-minute offense, it's almost like cheating.
Yeah, like it is.
Almost like cheating.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So 13 wins and a Super Bowl, NBD for the Saints this year. No big deal. Real quick, 60 seconds. Convince people who don't have dogs why a dog would change their life.
Oh man, a dog would change your life because I think it will open up new sort of empathy pathways for other beings that you may not presently possess or be in touch with. I think looking into like having an animal that depends on you, that lives in your home with you, and to see that animal come and like sidle up to you, an animal, not the same species, but this animal realizes the relationship and wants to be next to you and wants to be close to you. It just makes you think differently about birds and rhinoceroses and wolves and whales and bugs, and it just makes you think differently about the whole world. I think that in a good way, and I think a dog will change your life because it'll make you love life better.
I'm with you. That was total. I had a total angle on that because I'm angling to get a dog at home, so I just had to throw that little pitch out there. And I know we talked about dogs on the way in. Yeah, adopt. And the empathy pathway, man. You said it.
Look, my brother adopted Grizzly, right? The other lab. My lab, I bought mine as like a very with a good pedigree, like a little puppy that was a local hunter, and blah blah blah. And I came across her as a puppy, and she rode with me to the bank all the time. And the lady at the bank saw my dog, and she's like, "Hey, you want another chocolate lab?" So the next one was for my brother, and it was a rescue. And there's such a difference in attitude. I know there's a boy-girl difference. Boys tend to be a lot more like together than the female. My female was kind of standoffish, but I really feel like a lot of Grizzly's loyalty was from him having been rescued, and we saw that over and over again because my mom rescued another chocolate lab that they found like at a cabin that had fallen off a truck or something, and it was just destroyed. He looked like he was on death's bed. And he lasted like another 5 years after they brought his crippled butt home, maybe longer. And those dogs that had nothing that you gave a second chance to, you can say what you want, bro. They know, and it's just kind of special. They're really good dogs. I know people worry about, well, I want to make sure that I don't get. You never know what kind of mixed breed mutt. I would rather go and make sure that I'm getting a such and such dog that has and get a pedigree and know what I'm buying. And I think it's worth the risk to adopt.
Well, and that because look at your story, man. I mean, like your story is with openness and Yeah, like openness changed your story, and you see that with your animals too. There's no coincidence there, I think, either. Another topic I'm throwing at you real quick, and
Sure.
we're gonna do a couple more, then we're on the way out. Biggest insecurity that you feel like you're fighting, uh, reoccurring, like a reoccurring insecurity that you feel like you're fighting.
Feeling fat.
Feeling fat,
Yep.
like nothing's ever good enough type thing, or what?
Yeah, constantly just feeling fat. Like I'm not fat. I still wear a size 32 jeans and wear a large shirt. And I still only weigh 200 pounds or 195, depending on what day I step on the scale. But there's something about not feeling the engine red line every now and then, like I did, like when I was running a lot more than what I am right now, that makes you feel sloppy and soft.
Like
You
you
know?
associate that with being fit, and when you don't
Right.
have that, some of that fear
Yeah.
and that insecurity comes back of, oh
Sure.
crap, am I going back the other way? Yeah,
Yeah, and
totally relate
I
to
know
that. Yeah,
realistically I'm not, because my food is so drastically different. I mean, it's not even close. There's no way I can get fat eating the way I eat.
right, right.
I mean, you can figure it out. There's no doubt. If I could start just buying peanut butter and keeping it in the pantry, there's ways to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You can
But
figure it out.
abiding by my current protocol, I'm not gonna suddenly, turn into a 400 pounder again. Um, but yeah, I do feel soft around the edges when I'm not out there really sharpening the tool, and
Yep.
that kind of sucks. So I kind of feel soft right now. Yeah.
Yep, and that's one that I think too. Just the image too. Like, do you ever look in the mirror and still like? Are you ever surprised by the person you see in the mirror, or
All
is that all the time? Right? Like it
Hey,
takes a while.
look at this dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like who is that? And then there's also this like fear of disassociation. Like, damn, who is that? And I firmly believe, and through the research we found this, is that some of the reason why some people they're not willing to process that. And
Yeah.
so part of the reason they go back is because they go back to where
Yep.
they find
There's
comfort
an
and they're not
identity
willing to
crisis
push
there.
through that.
Like
Yeah,
there's
100%.
a definite wall. We didn't really talk about it much, but there's a definite wall between I lost 100 pounds, and then to do what it took to get the rest of the weight off was such a
Mm,
mindset shift. It was big because it was an identity crisis. I felt like I was turning my back on my fellow fat guys. I felt like I was turning my
yeah.
back on my Bam Bam and my brother and all of the other people I
Hmm.
identified with as big people. So I had to find ways to couch it in my mind that not only am I not turning my back on them, but in a way, I'm kind of presenting myself to the family as a first responder. Like I'm the guy running in the flaming building right now with the thing on my mask going,
Wow.
hey, come with me, man.
Wow.
And I need a certain body to be able to do that, And so that's how I couch it now. And so that's on fire forever.
Openness again. I think. I mean, you hear that theme over and over and over and over. Your final topic, Dart. You're speaking directly to someone right now who is listening to this, and they're saying, "Yeah, but," and then they got a list of reasons why their story is unchangeable, and part of that but is not believing that they can lose weight, and not believing that they'll break the chains of food addiction, and not believing that they could ever feel worthy or lovable. 60 seconds. What do you say to that person?
Yeah. You're right. If you believe it hard enough, you're right. Whether it's good or bad, whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot,
You're
whatever
right.
you buy into, you write about it. So
Hmm.
choose wisely.
Wow. Mic drop. That's it.
So
You honestly, you and I could do this for another 2 hours, and
oh,
it's 8 o'clock there.
yeah.
Let me love on you for a minute, man, and just tell you, we're I know I just met you, but there's some similar cloth that we're cut from,
Yeah.
uh, in
Obviously.
just in just the sense that I mean, obviously we get this the journey and the struggle, and the overweight thing and losing weight, but it's bigger than that, man. You live with passion, you live with your feelings, but you also are a thinker, and like truly, man, I think from everyone that knows your story, just thank you, bro, for keep doing what you're doing, man. You are a beautiful blend of both that intellect and also that heart, and man, you are just gonna continue to change so many lives by being you. I love your authenticity. I love your vulnerability. And I'd be honored to ever talk to you again on here. But
Anytime.
man, I'm just keep doing, just keep rinse and repeat, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It feels good. It's an honor to be asked. Like, honestly, I'm dumbfounded every time someone's like, "Hey, would you come talk about yourself with me?" It's like, okay. So, yeah, it feels good to be wanted. It feels good to feel like I have something to offer, something of value. And I'm proud of the work that I've been able to get done over the past few years. It is something that it is a source of pride for me, and it does feel good. And people need to realize that that's okay too. You know, be brag about yourself a little bit. Feel good
Yeah,
about what you've accomplished in your life,
yeah,
and
yeah. You have every right to do
it's
that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay.
Man, we got to do another one. So we'll
Yes, sir.
figure out
I'm in.
the
Let me know.
scheduling. But I love it too, because I'm not going to even plan it. We're just going to see where it goes. We might talk about West Coast versus East Coast, late '90s hip hop. We might talk about the NFC South and really break down what Atlanta's doing, drafting another freak wide receiver on the outside. We
Yeah.
might talk about pit bulls and the bad rap they get. We might
Yeah.
even talk about Pitbull the rapper. So, or not the rapper, but
Oh,
the one, right? We'll talk about whatever. But anyway,
yeah.
my point is this, man. It's so cool to just spend time with you, vibe with you, and keep me abreast of what you're doing, man. And I'm
Sure.
all about it. And yeah, and hang on for a minute. I'm just going to end the broadcast, but I want to say something to you before we leave. But
For sure.
again, everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight. This is Rewriting My Story. I'm Dr. Mondo. This is the stories behind the behind the before and after pictures, about the emotional transformation. And again, if you didn't get a chance to watch this whole thing, just hit rewind and rewatch this, because there are so many nuggets in here that were absolutely amazing. I'm talking with the man that he doesn't have the same Elvis hair, but I'm telling you, he's got the Elvis pedigree when it comes to the plant-based stuff. He is the Elvis of plant-based, whether he likes to acknowledge it or not, because of the old NFC West roots. He's also the Bill Walsh of the plant-based. So he's those things, and I'm sure if you ask Wheezy or something like that, he'd probably give him something else in there too. But I can't flow like that. So anyway, check this interview out. Watch it from the start. Tune in next week. Rob on the road. We're back again with another amazing episode of Rewriting My Story with Dr. Mondo, as we're rewriting your story. You guys have a great night, and we will see you guys again next week. Same time, same channel. We'll see you then.